Goku being sent to Earth is single-handedly the most important thing that happened in Dragon Ball. But what would happen if we replaced him? What if Vegeta, the Prince of Saiyans, took his place instead? The following story is brought to you by Dragon Garow Lee. Our story opens approximately 50 million light years from Earth, where we see an all-too-familiar ship. Inside is none other than the Emperor, Frieza. Speaking to King Vegeta, he proclaims that it's unfortunate, but their species, the Saiyans, have become a threat to him. King Vegeta acknowledges what it's come to, but he shouts that even if he dies today, his will continue through his son. Unfortunately, Frieza ends his enthusiasm where it started, telling him that Planet Vegeta will be taken out following his own death. With sweat streaming down his face, Vegeta tells him what he already knows but is too scared to admit. He fears the Saiyans. But for good reason. Their lust for combat knows no bound. It's then that he fires a blast out of the ship, creating a hole in it, surprising Frieza. The Emperor questions what he thinks he's doing, and prideful as ever, the king shouts that if he is to die today, he'll die defending his people as their king. This blast turns out to be a powerball, starting to turn the king of the Saiyans into an Uzaru. He knows that Frieza's mighty, but he believes that with the primitive power of the Great Ape, Frieza won't come out unscathed. He feels the power flow through him as the transformation sets in. His enormous size starts to tilt the ship as he tells Frieza that no matter what the outcome ends up being today, the Saiyans will no longer be his puppets. Today, they'll be free from his enslavement. He tells him that within each of the Saiyans, there's potential to become a Super Saiyan, a being capable of destroying even the likes of him. As long as even a single Saiyan remains breathing, Frieza will never be at peace. Smirking, the Emperor looks up, telling him that he fears nothing. He is the Emperor of the entire universe. Vegeta shouts that he's nothing but a relic, bringing his fist down onto the ship, but Frieza vanishes. Turning his head, Vegeta sees him proceeding to fire an enormous beam from his mouth, which makes direct contact. Had it been any other foe, a blast with that much power might have killed them, but Frieza shows no sign of damage. Turning the king's enthusiasm upside down, he asks, "Is that all?" Left shook, the king stares at Frieza, who uses just his fingers to off his arms, showing him that the difference between them is one too high to fill. Starting to charge a blast of his own, Frieza says that free of false hope, his last act of defiance has done nothing but cement Frieza's rule. The falling of the king will create a new era. Bringing down the blast, Frieza obliterates King Vegeta. And in a very similar scene, one that was initially Bardock's, Vegeta says farewell, my son. Soldiers from what's left of Frieza's ship question what will happen to the other Saiyans as they talk about watching him obliterate them. We then see the planet of the Saiyans, with a woman claiming that she feels he has left this world. She's of course referring to King Vegeta, and she knows what that means. Frieza's going to be here shortly. She has to act quick for Vegeta's sake. This appears to be Vegeta's mother and King Vegeta's wife. Staring down at the prince, the woman grabs him and runs into a building, quickly maneuvering throughout the halls. As the woman runs, she says that she won't be able to go wherever it is that she's about to send the prince in order to protect him, and it's then that she enters a room full of space pods. She searches for a secure pod, claiming that she would rather be killed than live with the pain of losing him. Placing Vegeta in a pod, she sets in coordinates for Earth, saying that if she's never to see her son again, then she has to make sure Frieza won't either. Calling Earth a suitable planet outside of Frieza's empire and with low native combat strength, she knows it's the right place. Closing the pod, she tells Vegeta to live. Live far away from the poison that infected her world. Make friends, make family, and do all the things that she won't be there to see. The pod is then sent flying into outer space. She sulks in the moment for a few seconds before getting on the move again, but there's no hope as she feels a shockwave knowing that it's over. An enormous blast with power capable of destroying their entire planet comes down and does exactly that. With her dying words, she condemns Frieza. One day, a warrior capable of taking him down will challenge his throne, and on that day, he'll feel the pain of all the races he's enslaved. It's then that the planet is completely wiped off the face of the universe, never to be seen again. And so, Vegeta travels, completely unaware of the sacrifices that were made to ensure that he would survive. On another planet, we see a younger Nappa and Raditz taking it over. Raditz beats down on one of the native species, calling this whole ordeal boring before asking Nappa if there's anything interesting going on. He says that he might have something for him, but it's then that his scouter tells him something unexpected. With a shocked look on his face, he tells the younger Saiyan that their planet was destroyed by a collision with a meteorite. As we know, that's simply a lie. Shocked himself, Raditz is in disbelief, mourning the loss of his mother and father. Nappa tells him that Lord Frieza sends his condolences, but little do they know he's the one that destroyed the world. It's then that Nappa turns around, telling Raditz to come along. They have to tell his brother as well. No doubt Kakarot's as shaken up as he is. Clearly, Goku and Vegeta have entirely switched places, but let's continue on and see where Vegeta's headed. On Earth, we see Kame House with a voice telling Master Roshi that they have a guest. He looks out the window, seeing a baby on top of Turtle, questioning who that could be. Running outside, he asks his pet where he found the child, to which Turtle responds, in the ocean on top of a floating sphere. And unfortunately, it's probably at the bottom of the ocean by now. He's of course referring to Vegeta's space pod. Noting the obvious, Turtle tells tells Master Roshi of the concerning tale on Vegeta, with the hermit remarking that it appears he isn't from this world. Roshi then appears to read the child's mind, and as he does, he shouts that it has to be a hoax. Is he really expected to believe that this child escaped his planet's detonation and is now the last of his kind? Hilariously, he shouts that this isn't a DC comic. Lifting Vegeta up, he says he bets that the tale isn't even real. What kind of a joke is this? Giving the tale a closer look, he stands corrected. It's then that he receives a kick from baby Vegeta, which sends him flying back. Roshi remarks that he's a strong kid, doubting his ability to keep up with a youngster like him. But of course, it's not in his heart to let the kid fend for himself. Looking up, he asks himself what he should do before leaning down to Vegeta's side, asking him how he feels about staying with a friend of his. With that said, Roshi hands the kid over to Grandpa Gohan, fulfilling his longtime desire to have a son. As the narration notes, it's fitting that these two lost souls should find each other like this. It's Roshi's hope that these two can fill the absences in each other's hearts. A decade or so goes by, similar to the time skip that occurred between Goku's landing and the start of Dragon Ball. We see an older Vegeta yelling at someone, "You damn brat, you want to steal my treasure?" In retaliation, he fires a blast at this mysterious person. After the dust clears, we see a terrified Bulma just narrowly surviving. Vegeta then pulls out his power pole, excitedly yelling, "Come on, I'll be your opponent." We then skip forward some more, with Krillin looking up terrified as ever, telling Vegeta to stop as he'll kill them all. A grade 8 Vegeta is then shown rampaging across what appears to be the World Tournament stage. Another time skip reveals Bulma and Vegeta running away from the Red Ribbon Army. Being as Vegeta as can be, this Vegeta proceeds to yell at Bulma. "Damn it, woman, can't you stay still?" Shouting back, Bulma questions what he expects her to do, stand still and be shot to death? Having had enough, Vegeta stops in his tracks, turns around and tells them all to die, firing multiple blasts, which, as expected, eradicates them. Bulma then knows that might have been slightly overkill. Not paying attention to her remarks though, Vegeta flies away, finding the Red Ribbon base of operations. Calling them one hell of a bother, he stands above the base and fires blast after blast, destroying the base completely. The next panel shows Vegeta firing the Galley gun at the Pilaf gang's robot, taking them down swiftly. Letting them down with some hard truth, he tells them that they're hardly worth the effort. Even King Piccolo can't escape Vegeta's run, as he's shown crawling away from the Saiyan child. Confident as ever, Vegeta demeans the Demon King, calling him almost a waste of his time. Piccolo curses Vegeta, but tells him that if he were young again, Vegeta wouldn't stand a chance. But like the promise of a better fight usually does, this intrigues the Saiyan. Vegeta's shown flying away from an explosion, calling it a flashy entrance before further demeaning Piccolo because he thinks losing a few wrinkles makes him invincible. Piccolo asks Vegeta if he's prepared as he'll reduce him to ashes shortly, but the very next second, Vegeta proves that he's far too strong for even this version of the Demon King, taking him down with a single blow. The 3-year time gap between the battle and the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament occurs, with Vegeta shown having a conversation with Bulma. She remarks that he may be older but hasn't grown an inch, to which he simply tells her to shut up. Oolong adds on that his forehead is as big as ever, but Vegeta has no issue snapping back, threatening to kill him. Bulma blushes, telling him that his way of talking hasn't changed one bit. Skipping forward to the actual tournament, Vegeta faces down against Mercenary Tao, crediting him for having the balls to stare him down. From the corner, Tien calls Tao his sensei before telling him to maintain his dignity and to simply withdraw from the fight. He can't win. Tao refuses to believe that, telling Tien to shut up. After Vegeta, he's next. With sweat dropping down his face, Tao realizes what it's come to, dashing towards Bulma as he holds a blade to her face. He tells Vegeta that if he so much as twitches, he'll slit Bulma's throat, calling Vegeta a fool to let his guard down. Surprised at how far Tao's willing to go, Vegeta simply gives him a look while Krillin and Yamcha shout for Bulma. The announcer informs Tao that he will be disqualified for using weapons, but of course that's not what's important here. Staring Vegeta down, he tells him that he did his research. This woman, referring to Bulma, is his lover, right? With a visible look of disbelief and shock on his face, Vegeta shouts, "What?" as Bulma simply repeats the word, and Yamcha, of course, even more shocked than the two in question. Vegeta says stop fooling around before raising his hand and using just 2 fingers to blast Tao's other arm off. Confidently, he tells him to let Bulma go or he'll send him straight to hell. He can't believe that Vegeta's just that strong, but of course he is, so Tao simply runs with the promise of return in the near future for his vengeance. Looking at Bulma, Vegeta asks her if she's tired of being a hostage, but angrily shouting back, she asks how that's her fault at all. He tells her that if she wants protection that badly, then she may as well belong to him, which Bulma sort of takes as a proposal. Not realizing what he just did, Vegeta has a look of confusion on his face, but Bulma accepts and it's announced to everybody that he will be married shortly. Turning his back to the crowd, Vegeta hilariously tells himself that it'll be okay, he's been through worse. And unfortunately, Krillin is seen consoling Yamcha as once again he takes the L against Vegeta. Of course, the main fight of the tournament ends up being Vegeta versus Piccolo Jr. A titanic display of physical prowess is shown as Vegeta Vegeta tears him apart. Out of breath, Piccolo looks ahead, acknowledging Vegeta's strength, understanding why his father stood no chance. The others are shown encouraging Vegeta before Piccolo admits that he won't be able to avenge his father today. Taking it all in, Vegeta looks at Piccolo, seeing defeat in his eyes. He's shown that he's different from his father. In an unusual moment for Vegeta, he shows mercy, letting Piccolo live to train another day and come back to face him. Of course, Piccolo's left shocked by this, and Kami is left angered, encouraging Vegeta to finish him off. Vegeta turns to him, and much like how Goku knew, he knows that if he kills Piccolo, Kami will die too, and the Dragon Balls will disappear. Bulma looks upon him with pride as Vegeta turns back around and tells Piccolo that killing him would be a waste. He notes that Piccolo should get moving before he changes his mind. He grins, telling Vegeta that he'll regret the day he spared his life. From this day on, he'll devote his life to making Vegeta's last moments as unpleasant as possible. Smiling, Vegeta simply says, "Can't wait." Vegeta then asks the announcer what happens now, and of course, with Piccolo fleeing the scene, Vegeta is declared the new Tenkaichi Budokai champion. Kami is then shown looking at the sky. Sorry, Piccolo. To think that Vegeta didn't even see you as a threat? Truly astonishing. Somehow already knowing the future, he predicts that in 6 years, the real threat will come, and he can't wait to see what happens. Of course, this time skip then happens with Bulma, Vegeta, and their kid arriving at Roshi's doorstep. Bulma announces that it's been a long time, with Krillin and Roshi running to greet them. They obviously noticed the kid, and for some reason, much like Goku, they chose not to keep in touch with their friends. Bulma urges her son to introduce himself, and he does so. "My name is Trunks, and I'm 4 years old." Roshi says hello back, with Krillin remarking that they raised him well. Bulma confidently replies, "Of course, I'm his mother after all." The other one is a fighting addict, giving Vegeta a strong side-eye. Krillin turns to his friend, "So that makes you a dad now, huh?" Vegeta nods before Krillin asks about Trunks' tail. Turning around, Vegeta asks if he wants to see Trunks' tail, but it's then that he senses a large power on its way. He quickly runs outside, looking up at the sky with the others following behind him. Bulma asks what's gotten into him, but he's deep in thought. At first, he questions if it's Piccolo, but it can't be. Piccolo's no match for him. It must have been serious training if he's gotten this strong. Roshi looks up, realizing that something is coming, and Krillin notes that it appears to be a great power if it shocks Vegeta. Spotting it in the sky, the figure rapidly approaches, landing down. Facing off against Vegeta, it's of course Raditz. Smiling at the sight of him, Vegeta goes on to say, "You've been found at last, the lost son of King Vegeta." Without wasting a beat, Vegeta strikes Raditz with a vicious blow, sending him flying back into the ocean. The others shout that alien or not, Vegeta can't be touched. Raditz gets back up, expanding his aura and firing a blast towards him. He puts his hand forward, firing his own as the two beams collide in the air. Raditz is shown swimming away, knowing that he's in deep shit. Seeing the movement though, Vegeta quickly turns around, firing more blasts to not let him get away. Raditz jumps up, wondering how he can be detected without being seen, and this is of course the ability to sense ki. Vegeta's blast makes direct contact, wounding Raditz as he comes up to gasp for air. The prince isn't done with him yet, as he grabs Raditz by the hair and swings him backwards, landing a kick that sends him to a nearby island. Landing down, Vegeta takes a moment to reminisce about the time he trained with Krillin, which happened on that very island. Raditz gets up, visibly hurt. Vegeta says that he's never met an opponent as stubborn as Raditz, but it's time to end this. Grinning, Raditz notes that Vegeta is indeed an elite fighter, but unfortunately for him, everything that's happened here was directly transmitted to his two partners. Once he dies, those two will be coming for him, and not fazed by this, Vegeta tells him to talk to the hand, firing a blast that goes through Raditz's chest, killing him. And with the statement made, he accepts the challenge. We're then taken to a remote specter of space, where Nappa is shown calling Raditz useless as ever. He couldn't even last long enough to assess Vegeta's power properly. Nappa wonders if Raditz's scouter was still on. To think that the Saiyan prince would end up to be such a sap. Coexisting with natives on a backwater planet like Earth. Standing over Raditz's body, Vegeta questions if he's one of the partners, to which Nappa says that he is. He tells him that they'll make contact with Earth in just 3 months. Waiting for them, he can't wait to kill him. Laughing, he tells the two that they'll just be meeting an early grave. A different voice tells Vegeta to listen, and it's then that we see what's become of Goku, or rather, Kakarot in Saiyan armor. Smiling, he tells Vegeta that he'll show him, the elite, how a battle is really fought. A weird feeling takes over Vegeta as he can tell that this person seems different from his previous opponents. He cuts off the transmission with a "see you soon" as Vegeta stands there confused on what an elite means. Nappa jokingly comments that Mr. Low-Class Warrior is speaking on equal terms with an elite, which results in Kakarot meeting him with a backhand. He stands up, telling Nappa never to use those words around him again, and of course, Nappa apologizes, making their hierarchy pretty clear. Nappa notes that with every brush of death Kakarot has overcome, his power skyrocketed. He's a fearsome warrior, but also a menacing individual. His own brother is dead, and he couldn't care less. This quick explanation from Nappa establishes that Kakarot has risen to power among the group through the use of Zenkai. He goes on to command Nappa to come along before Nappa informs him that they were supposed to meet up with Frieza. Kakarot looks up at the sky as the two space pods leave the planet they were on. Back at Kame House, Vegeta tells the story to the group, but he also tells them that he'll deal with the two Saiyans himself. He doesn't need help and he definitely doesn't want it. Krillin realizes that their strength is too high for them anyways and that they'll just have to put their faith in Vegeta for this one. A worried Bulma asks if it's okay for him to do this, but he smiles, telling her not to worry. He's never lost a fight and he doesn't intend to start now. The narration continues, and so the fated day came when the Saiyans arrived on Earth, just 3 months later. Kakarot and Nappa's pods are shown crashing down into the heart of a city. Kakarot comes out looking around as he acknowledges that this is Earth. Kami looks down from the lookout, noting that Kakarot has finally arrived, and as expected, he feels different from the others that have tried to fight Vegeta. As Kakarot and Nappa stand at the site at which they landed, ordinary civilians approach, wondering if a meteor had fallen. Kakarot starts to charge a blast in his hand, telling them not to make a fuss. He throws the blast, creating a huge explosion which engulfs the entire city as he smirks viciously. At Kame House, the others are shown watching this unfold, with Bulma praying that Vegeta comes back safely. Speaking of, the Saiyan Prince is shown flying to the landing zone, cursing himself for being too late as he sees the explosion. Nappa exclaims that it was one hell of a grand entrance, but he's just focused on looking for Vegeta. Using his scouter, Kakarot knows that he's on his way, and from what it tells him, Vegeta's power level is a mere 3500. Turning to Nappa, he tells him that he should be able to handle him. Smiling, Kakarot wants to meet him in the middle so the two start to fly. With the lower gravity, the two feel even stronger, but something else is going on in Kakarot's mind. He notes that this is all wrong. Vegeta should have never stepped foot on a planet like this. How did he end up here? Vegeta realizes that the two are coming his way, and he knows that he's stronger than at least one of them, but as he suspected, the other is far stronger. However, he's ready for the challenge and some fun along with it. We then see a pretty cool panel of Kakarot and Vegeta flying towards each other and meeting with a spectacular showdown. Staring each other down, Vegeta breaks the silence. To go out of your way to come here, you must have a pretty good reason. Kakarot chooses to reply with an insulting comment. You're more babyface than I imagined, Vegeta, but if you must know, I really wanted to do some damage to that pretty face of yours. Vegeta acknowledges the two in front of him are Saiyans, and he adds on that he's grateful to learn about his origins, but Vegeta then shouts that he is a Saiyan as well. He calls Earth his home, so if they seek to harm it, he will eradicate the two as he is this planet's protector. Kakarot sighs and practically mocks Vegeta before telling Nappa that he's up first. Stepping forward, Nappa tells his opponent to try and get past him as he increases his power level to 4000. Vegeta reciprocates by powering up himself as his aura coats him. But he doesn't just stop at 4000. Continuing to power up, he shocks Nappa, but more importantly, Kakarot. As his scouter notes, Kakarot reads 8000, 9000, 10,000, and it keeps going. By the time Vegeta's done, his power level is at 13,000. Nappa realizes that he can control his power levels, something that in the original series only Vegeta and Goku could do. The look on Nappa's face completely changes as he looks at his superior, telling him that he has no hope of winning. He asks what he should do, and not giving a shit, Kakarot tells him to fight. He attempts to refute, but Kakarot doesn't budge. Nappa shouts that he's an elite warrior and will not be defeated by the likes of Vegeta, rushing towards him, but his efforts mean nothing. Vegeta kicks him in the face as he flies past Kakarot with the prince chasing behind. Nappa tries to use his signature move to blow him up, but Vegeta appears behind him, mocking the attack. Nappa continues to swing but misses at every turn as Vegeta's speed is far too great for him to match. The prince counters with multiple blows to his face, followed by a thunderous punch to his stomach. As Nappa screams in agony, he suddenly gets an idea, using his mouth to send a blast at Vegeta point blank. While it makes direct contact, Vegeta is still unfazed. Kakarot notes that Nappa is certainly outmatched in every way, so what does he plan to do? Looking up, Nappa shouts that he'll show him, in his final moments, the prideful death of a true Saiyan. Turning to Vegeta with a crazed look on his face, Nappa tells him that they'll fight again, in hell. The Saiyan blows himself up, making the ultimate sacrifice, for ultimately nothing, as Vegeta survives the attack with minimal damage. Kakarot notes that it wasn't a bad way to go at all, but with it being his turn now, he asks Vegeta to change the location. Truth be told, they have no shortage of areas to do battle, so Vegeta tells him that the only place they can fight is one with no people or animals, and if he's a true Saiyan, he'll agree to those terms. Away from the battlefield, Krillin asks Bulma how the battle seems to be going, which she can tell by using the scouter. She excitedly shouts that one of the Saiyans is dead, with Roshi asking about the other guy. Bulma turns around, confidently stating that Vegeta's power level is 13,000 and the other guy's is only 5,500. Letting out a sigh of relief, the two are put at ease. But we know that the low power level is just a mask for what's to come. Kakarot and Vegeta face off, with the invader taking off his scouter as he gears up for the fight. The prince looks up. I remember you saying something like, showing me how a battle is really fought. Kakarot responds, those words are reserved for those who can match me in combat. Vegeta's aura spiked, with him remarking that it's unfortunate for Kakarot that he can't properly control his ki. Kakarot realizes that he's referring to power levels, which is unexpected to say the least, but it matters little. Smiling, he tells the prince that he shouldn't be so quick to judge. An aura surrounds Goku as his power level starts to climb, leaving Vegeta in absolute shock. Bulma realizes that she was arrogant in assuming that the enemy can't control his power level either. Unfortunately for them, it well surpasses Vegeta's. Kakarot mocks him, telling him that controlling one's power level isn't exactly a god-given right, but still, for a planet as backwards as this, it's quite the accomplishment. Absolutely fear-stricken, Vegeta realizes that he's never met someone this powerful before. Kakarot continues to rub it in, questioning if he's shocked to meet someone stronger than himself. He's a Saiyan, he should be happy about it. Vegeta grips his hands tight. True, it's the first time he's ever felt a sensation like this before. It's not a bad feeling, no doubt attributed to his Saiyan blood. In the back of his head, Kakarot thinks that maybe he's actually worth it. The two take their stances, with Vegeta making the first move as he sends a flurry of punches towards his enemy. But Kakarot dodges each without any effort. A kick from Vegeta misses as the enemy tells him he's too slow. Saying, "My turn," Kakarot goes on the offensive, landing a direct punch, followed by more and more and more, before landing a thunderous blow that sends Vegeta flying through rocks. Landing on his feet, Vegeta gets ready to retaliate, but Kakarot appears next to him, throwing a punch. Surprisingly, the prince manages to hop away as he sends a blast. Kakarot turns his head, confidently dodging. Leaping away, he shouts, "Get back here!" Vegeta tries to stop him in his tracks, but his attack is dodged once again, before he's hit with another brutal punch. Kakarot continues his domination as he sends Vegeta crashing down. Standing over him, he sarcastically asks, "See what a little hard work can get you, Vegeta? Not that you know anything about that." Getting up, Vegeta sends multiple blasts towards his enemy. This time, Kakarot doesn't even move, taking them head on as he shields himself with his arms. With the smoke clearing, the Saiyan is left unscathed. Did I touch a nerve? Vegeta sends a bigger blast, which Kakarot punches away. He says that if he put some effort in, Vegeta could definitely do that as well. Vegeta, visibly hurt and tired, gasps for air, with Kakarot continuing his monologue. "I reckon this is the first time you fought this seriously? You'll probably be happy to hear then that I'm not going all out." Thinking to himself, Vegeta questions what kind of training Kakarot had, with him also regretting the way he spent the last 3 months. Kakarot continues to egg him on. After all, he is the prince of all Saiyans. He needs to understand that enjoying life-threatening battles while death hangs over them is what it means to be a Saiyan. Vegeta shouts back as he gears up for round 2. Kakarot charges in, with Vegeta putting his hands to his head and using the solar flare, stopping his opponent in his tracks. Screaming for his eyes, Kakarot is charged by Vegeta, who believes he has the advantage, but unfortunately he's met with a defeating punch to the face. He can't believe what he sees, but Kakarot explains how he's trained to fight in any environment. Even if he can't see him, he can feel the air currents drifting around him as he moves. While Kakarot continues to talk, all of a sudden Vegeta puts up 2 fingers, landing an invisible strike to his chest. Kakarot flies up, sending a blast down, which Vegeta avoids. Appearing behind him, Kakarot gets ready for another strike, and Vegeta can do nothing but acknowledge that he's too fast for him to keep track, eating yet another punch. Shouting as he can't hold back anymore, Vegeta plants his feet and cuffs his hand together, charging a Gala gun. He tells his foe to understand why he's feared across planet Earth. This attack isn't easily deflected, and if he's brave enough, he can try and punch it away. Kakarot is unwavering as he invites the attack. Firing the enormous beam, it rages forward as Kakarot leans his hand back, balling up a fist which he uses to strike the Gala gun, stopping it in its tracks. Not being able to believe his eyes, Vegeta pushes forward, with Kakarot realizing that he underestimated him. Knowing that this was his last gamble, Vegeta is desperate to make it work. There's nothing left to give, and this leads him to question what exactly makes Kakarot this strong. Alas, Kakarot is able to throw the blast into space, all while giving it props for making his bones vibrate. Looking up to see Vegeta's dazed and defeated look, he realizes that this battle, it may as well be over. How boring. On the lookout, Kami too questions Kakarot's motive for coming all this way. Maybe he desires to be the only remaining Saiyan? Cursing himself for his inability to protect the planet, Kami is left to wonder what hope there is. Kakarot continues to wail down on Vegeta, embarrassing him at this point. He tries to fight back, but there's nothing he can do. Beating him down some more, Kakarot shows reluctance in landing the finishing blow, calling Vegeta pathetic as he falls to the floor. Staring down at the broken and beaten prince, Kakarot tells him that he expected more, that he was disappointed after fighting him. He had given up any chance at being strong the moment he was sent to this planet. Quivering on the floor below, Vegeta starts to tear up. This isn't how it's supposed to go. Delivering his last words, Kakarot tells him that it's a shame they're from the same race. "Be gone." Raising his hands to end the fight, a voice shouts, "Wait!" as Vegeta looks up to see none other than Karin. Karin tells him it's been a while, but Vegeta's only interested as to why he's here. He tells him to not be foolish and to run away, with Kakarot questioning if he's meant to fight him, but what he has to offer is more intriguing. He can make Vegeta stronger, if he's willing to be patient for a few hours, that is. Kakarot agrees to the terms as he walks over to Vegeta and delivers him with the Ultra Divine Water, something that Goku drank in the original series, which gave him a slight boost in power. Proposed with the opportunity, Vegeta has no choice but to try and drink it. If he doesn't, he dies. If he does and dies anyways, then at least he tried. Staring down at the cup, he turns to look at his enemy, thinking to himself that he will end him. Drinking the poison, he screams in agony, feeling like his head's going to explode. But after that passes, it doesn't take long for Vegeta to awaken the power locked beneath. Standing up, he feels an immense power, thanking Karin, who offers him a senzu bean before leaving. But as per usual, the Saiyan's pride gets in the way and he denies. As the sun rises, the two stare down for round 3, taking their stances and charging towards one another. Unlike before, the both of them land blows on each other, with Vegeta striking next with a kick that's blocked. A flurry of punches from Kakarot are thrown, and unlike before, Vegeta dodges all of them. The two go on for an even exchange, with Kakarot landing a punch while Vegeta lands a kick. This goes on for some time as the two appear to be dead even, countering each other at every turn. By the end of it, they're both huffing and puffing. But that doesn't stop Kakarot from laughing hysterically in enjoyment of the fight he's having, with Vegeta even admitting that he wants to do the same. So the battle between Vegeta and Kakarot wore on, both sides evenly matched for the very first time. God in his palace could not predict the outcome if he tried. Speaking of, Kami acknowledges that as a result of Karin stepping in, Vegeta stands a much greater chance. But even then, Kakarot still seems to be holding back. He has no clue how Vegeta will win this battle. Starting to raise his power even more, Vegeta emits a fierce aura, sending rocks flying at his opponent. Smiling, Kakarot tells him that his power level has likely gone well above 20,000 by now. He clearly deserves the elite status, but as Vegeta says himself, he doesn't care about that. Kakarot rips off his Saiyan armor, revealing the scars on his body before starting to power up. A power so great that a larger projection of himself appears, sending a punch towards Vegeta, who has no choice but to block, and even then he's sent hurtling back. He stops himself and sends multiple blasts to an unwavering Kakarot, who swiftly maneuvers around said blast before punching one back towards the prince. Luckily, Vegeta blocks it, but Kakarot wasn't done there. He starts to send more and more, thinking quickly. Vegeta lets out an explosion of ki, stopping them in their tracks. Appearing behind him, Vegeta mocks the move as Vegeta tries to kick him, but he only evades, but also counters with a punch of his own. He continues to egg on Vegeta, not slowing down and beating him to a pulp. Eventually, he just stops in his tracks and lets down his guard, telling Vegeta to punch him. But the prince doesn't know how to proceed. He could just as easily be countered, as Kakarot could attack him. Not making a move, Vegeta stands there, which pushes Kakarot to make one of his own, with his assault never ending. On the lookout, Kami's realizing the fundamental difference between them. Kakarot is used to adapting himself in the heat of battle. Vegeta has to think ahead, putting him at a disadvantage. Vegeta must adopt his mindset, or he's already lost. The difference in their fighting experience is staggering, as Kakarot carries the weight of every battle he's won. Simply put, Earth has lacked the competition for Vegeta, and that's where the problem lies. Frustration is a new feeling for the prince. With every advantage gained comes a disadvantage just as quickly. On the other hand, Kakarot continues to add fuel to the fire, unwavering and unstoppable. After a few more punches, Vegeta realizes that Kakarot's put his ki into his left jab, which has been his main weapon in fighting. He moves so quickly that he can't see the punch coming, but if he doesn't speed up, that punch will end him. It's then that a flashback hits Vegeta, where he's taken back to the Tenkaichi Budokai, witnessing a fight between Jackie Chun and a younger Krillin. We see a younger Vegeta giving advice to Krillin on how to fight. Keep his composure and keep his eyes on the fist. Keeping his own words in mind, Vegeta takes a determined stance as Kakarot realizes he's become more focused. Doing what he's been, Kakarot comes forward, putting his ki into his fist and following with a devastating punch, except this time Vegeta dodges. The two continue to fight, their seemingly endless war clashing at every turn. Vegeta kicks him back, launching a Gala gun as he takes in the moment, recalling his prior teachings from Mr. Popo, calm as the sky and as fast as the lightning. Vegeta flies at an immense speed towards Kakarot, landing a brutal punch to his face. As the fight rages on, the gap in their power seems to be gone. Kakarot is forced into resorting to mental warfare, as Vegeta starts to catch up to him, fighting him evenly. Kakarot realizes that the longer the fight goes on, the better he moves, and for some reason, he wants more of it. He tells Vegeta to keep coming, show him more. The two land a simultaneous punch on each other, with it becoming clear that Kakarot's punches still hold more strength behind them. He follows up with another one, creating some distance before starting an energy blast contest. Kakarot starts to build up a huge volume of ki, plenty to reduce the earth, and Vegeta realizes that desperate times call for desperate measures. He cups his hands together and starts to charge a Kamehameha. Laughing, Kakarot mocks him for using a low-level Earth technique, shouting that he will decimate this world as he fires his blast. Vegeta does the same as the two monstrous beams charge towards each other, colliding. Vegeta is able to hold Kakarot's attack back, which comes as a shock to the Saiyan, but unfortunately for the prince, Kakarot remains confident, revealing that there's a second stage to his attack. As he twists his arms, Kakarot's blast increases in potency, and the Kamehameha is pushed back and continues to be pushed back. Kakarot shouts that it's the end of the line, but Vegeta continues to find that further inner strength. Channeling the perfect Kamehameha with the friends and family power-up, the blast flies back towards Kakarot as he acknowledges that it's the first time he's genuinely feared for his life. As he's overtaken, Vegeta falls flat on the ground, excitedly shouting that he's won. Vegeta and Karin proceed to have a small conversation, after which Karin hands him a senzu bean, which he starts to chew. Although it seems the battle is over, Kakarot lands down right next to him. This battle is yet to be concluded. He proclaims that he's not so easy to kill, and although annoyed, Vegeta spits out the senzu bean, ready to continue his battle. It's now round 4 as the two enter yet another exchange, with Kakarot landing majority of his blows as Vegeta sent to the defensive. But he soon starts to dodge all of them, noting that Kakarot's punches have slowed down with his injuries catching up to him. He catches a blow and then another one. Holding on to his opponent's hands, the prince kicks him in the face before following up with a brutal knee to the stomach. Vegeta's dug into every and all things he can. What will it take to bring this foe down? At this point, neither of them have much left to give, but that doesn't stop Vegeta from finding an opening as he starts to land more and more punches. He knows that he has to win as flashbacks from his journey as a kid start to come back to him. One of these memories is Master Roshi explaining a tactic that will allow one to catch his opponents off guard. By momentarily dropping his stance, Vegeta may be able to trick Kakarot into coming in further, and in that moment he can land an attack that Kakarot won't come back from. Determined, the prince is tired of being stuck in this stalemate. It's time to break the cycle. Jokingly, Vegeta starts to throw around random movements with his arm, pretending to charge a Kamehameha as he does, which confuses Kakarot. But as Vegeta runs in for the attack, his stance completely changes, landing a kick right to the face of Kakarot. A barrage of attacks later, he does actually launch a point-blank Kamehameha, which sends Kakarot crashing to the floor with blank eyes, as Vegeta believes that he's finally won. We then cut to a flashback of Kakarot in Saiyan armor when he was a kid, having just taken down a strong opponent. But as he turns around, he sees Nappa and Raditz mocking him and making fun of him for the way he fought. He looks to them and says, "I may be weak now, but I'll get stronger. Just watch." We cut back to the scene of the fight, and as he falls down, the life comes back to his eyes, and he lands a final blow to Vegeta, knocking him down to a knee. The prince, having given it his all, and then some, questions what it will take to stop him. Kakarot explains how he's had to claw every waking moment of every day since he was a kid. He worked for every ounce of power he has. He's not going to be stopped. Surprisingly, Vegeta stands up, asking all his masters to guide him. He tries the previous distraction tactic, and it actually ends up working again. He successfully lands a few blows before being met with a direct punch to the face and fully collapsing on the ground this time. Standing over him, Kakarot asks, "What do you know of struggle?" He starts to count back from 10, preparing to end the prince as he tries to get up, but Vegeta falls flat. Vegeta closes his eyes, apologizing to everyone. It's then that Karin shouts for Vegeta, but something happens in that moment. When he looks at Kakarot, he feels no intent to kill. Regardless, he starts to charge a blast in his hand, giving Vegeta some final words, but he has none. "Goodbye, Vegeta." Kakarot throws the blast, but it does nothing. He starts to maniacally laugh, leaving Vegeta extremely confused, asking him why he didn't do it. Extending his hand, Kakarot tells him that it would be a waste to kill a fighter like Vegeta, someone who's made him feel this alive. Karin comes forth, giving a senzu bean to Vegeta once more. This time, he actually eats it. He hands one to Kakarot as well, which he gladly takes. Vegeta asks if he plans to fight again, but it's then that Kakarot reveals something, asking Vegeta how he feels about leaving the planet with him. Kakarot tells him about Frieza, the genocidal maniac that wiped out their entire species, which leaves Vegeta shook. Kakarot tells him to come with him. Together, they'll exact vengeance and destroy him for the freedom he stole from their people. Taking it all in, Vegeta contemplates his decision before telling him that he's got his attention. He'll welcome the change from this dust ball of a planet. Kakarot's glad to hear it. With Vegeta on his side, his coup against Frieza will have a much better chance of working. It's then that Kakarot hands him a scouter, and as he puts it on, he starts to hear Bulma shouting. After explaining it all, he tosses the scouter back, telling Kakarot to hand it back to him when he actually needs it. Kakarot calls back the pods, and the two get in, heading off into space. After 15 days, the two land on Frieza Planet 97. Vegeta gets out on high alert, and Kakarot leads him inside. Vegeta asks if Frieza was on the planet, to which Kakarot replies he doesn't believe so. Frieza's Frieza's energy is too notable to not be sensed, and that leaves Vegeta wondering just how vast the gap in power between them and him is. The two get into the showers as Kakarot starts to think. Against Vegeta, Zarbon and Midoriya won't even break a sweat. He needs a lot more training, but more importantly, he needs to have his ego completely shattered. He needs to be beaten into the ground for the next step. One would assume that that's already been done, but apparently not. They get out as Kakarot suits up in new Saiyan armor and hands a piece to Vegeta, but he completely rejects the offer, telling the scientist to make him one of his gis. For the moment, he hangs around in black cloth. Kakarot pulls him to the side, getting into the details. Frieza's their main priority, but he has to be honest, they don't stand a chance in hell. They need to do more than just practice fights. After all, the more they actually fight, the stronger they get. To start, they need to work through Frieza's hierarchy. Vegeta doesn't object, but does have a question. It sounds like Kakarot's fought Frieza before, which he confirms, but once asked how the fight went, Kakarot scoffs at the word. Fight? 2 years ago, he returned after conquering a planet for Frieza. He was kneeled before him, giving him the news. Midoriya provoked him, which caused Kakarot to lash out, landing a punch on him. He then charged toward Frieza, but with just his eyes, the Emperor disposed him. This leaves Vegeta shook. How are they supposed to fight Frieza? And the only solution to that, as Kakarot notes, is to achieve the status of the Super Saiyan of Legend, which Kakarot explains further. Vegeta's of course on board with the idea, and as they walk along the ship, they run into a smug soldier who challenges them to a fight. Kakarot powers up as the soldier is left in shock, reading 35,000 as the last power level before his scouter blows up. He lands a 3-strike combo, sending the soldier flying away. He attempts to fire a blast, but Kakarot disintegrates it. He lands a few more blows, launching him as he tells Vegeta to end it. The prince fires a Kamehameha, obliterating the soldier. Kakarot tells him that their next course of action is to control their power levels so that they don't alert Frieza. Speaking of, we see him, Zarbon, and Midoriya on another planet. Zarbon tells him that the soldier, whose name was Gorcho, has been killed, which shocks Midoriya. His power level was 20,000, so only a handful of people could kill him. Frieza asks about the assailant, but all they know is that there were 2 of them, both of which had power levels exceeding 25,000 before dropping down. Frieza's mind jumps right to Kakarot, assuming he was somehow involved. Vegeta puts on his gi and Kakarot tells him that he was right. It suits him much better than the armor. Now that that's out of the way, they got work to do. The scientist tells them that they forgot their scouters, but both of them tell him that they don't need them. The scouters have outlived their usefulness. Vegeta tells him to get going as the 2 of them walk away. On another part of the planet, a girl is shown shouting that Kakarot's returned, and it appears to be his partner. Vegeta and Kakarot walk through the ship, being mocked by soldiers who they proceed to lay out. The girl from earlier sneaks up on them. You don't call, you don't write, where have you been these last few months? Kakarot turns around, jokingly saying he doesn't have time for this. He asks if he has to report everything he does to her, which leads Vegeta to ask who she is. Her name is Raditz. Kakarot, he hesitates to say, causing her to blow up again, explaining she's his partner. Continuing to shout at him, Kakarot tells her to give it a rest. He tells her that Vegeta's another Saiyan he met on Earth, just like them. So it turns out that she's another surviving Saiyan, which is a shock. Vegeta asks if she can really fight, and Kakarot confirms it. The 2 gear up for a spar, with Raditz not being able to land any hits on him. A Frieza soldier runs in, telling them to stop fighting, but before he could get another word out, he's kicked away by Raditz. She stops momentarily before charging back at Kakarot, who continues to dodge, but not fire back. He mocks her further by closing his eyes and still being able to dodge. Vegeta notes that it's because he's learned how to sense ki since his fight on Earth. Raditz comes in for a kiss, which she uses as a distraction to smack him in the mouth, but she misses yet again. Kakarot starts to walk away, causing Vegeta to mock him. The great Kakarot losing his cool over a smooch as they continue to come up with a plan. It's then that we see Kami looking into a fortune teller ball, basically telling us find out what happens next time on Dragon Ball Z. But for now, this story ends here. Thank you guys so much for watching, like and subscribe, and check out this video to continue your good day on YouTube.